everyone. Welcome to the Textile Art Gallery NYC interview series. The Textile Art Gallery, New York City, is an artist-owned and run gallery that opened in 2026. We are a group of textile artists ranging from quilt makers to sculptors to weavers to an assorted different types of textile and fiber art. And our goal is to connect the world with amazing textile art. We had a members show to start off our exhibition history, and then we had our first solo show, which is featured the art of Jennifer Fons. And Jennifer Fons is here with me today to talk about her work, about the process of having a solo show, and her membership in the Textile Art Gallery. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me, Maria. It's great to be here and talk about the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here too. It's kind of this wild moment in history that we have our own gallery and we are exhibiting this amazing work. And it's quite a feat for you, I guess for us as a gallery. We ended up with this new space. It was incredible, but it meant that we had to work pretty quickly. And you stepped up and put this amazing show together. So, what I'd like to do is look at this slideshow of your work and of the exhibition, and then we can talk about different things. I've got some questions for you, and I'm sure you have some things you would like to share as well. So, let's take a look at this slideshow, this exhibition. Um, So the first thing we're looking at here, this is the graphic for your show, which is on view from May 5th through June 27th, 2026. And there was an opening reception on May 16th. Um, and this is you, Jen. This is your headshot with all of your details. When I formatted this, I made sure that your name and Jen's Instagram and her website are part of each of these slides. So if you're viewing this, you know whose work we're looking at. So I thought maybe, Jen, to start off with, we'd play this little video and you could talk a little bit about the process of installing a major show. And how many pieces did you have in the show?
I had 35 pieces in the show, and that includes 8 collages of my large pieces. We drove to New York from Ohio, my husband and I, to hang the show. Thankfully, we were able to drive because many of my pieces are quite large. This video that you're seeing is something that he created, uh, unbeknownst to me, throughout our weekend at the gallery installing the show. And at the end, he was telling me to just walk around and so we could get some more shots of it. And even the end where I put my name on the wall. So it was really fun that he did this, and it seems to have come in handy for videos like this and for putting out to the world what it's like to hang a show like this.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it that he did that. It's like a little extra bonus thing. Not only did he spend the whole weekend with you installing that show, but he made the video. It's really nice. So here are
Yes.
some images from the opening. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
The opening reception. Well, we came back a couple of weeks later to have the opening, and it was really great to see everything. Finding. I mean, we saw it all put up when we left, but it was really great to see the gallery and with people in it enjoying the opening of the show.
Yeah, that's always, I think, a really special moment because you put all this work and effort into things, and then you've arranged them, and now people are having this experience that you created that was in your head, and now it's been manifest and it's on these walls. Another thing I really like about these photos is that we get to see how large your pieces are. Do you tend to work large?
I do enjoy working large. I work from collage, and so the many of these pieces were well, all of them were created originally as painted paper collages. Uh, and a lot of this was in preparation for the show that I was curated into called Color Improvisations that opened in March of 2024 in Neumünster, Germany at the Textile Museum. So I was working in a specific size that was required for that show and made many collages, hundreds, in order to be ready for that show. And this was my original series, my first series. And so I happen to have had a lot of collages around to scale up. So that's why I ended up with this size. But I'm also really pleased with the dimensions and the format of roughly 80 inches by 80 inches because I feel like it really makes an impact to the viewer. And it's an interesting challenge to learn to realize that a person my size can um, create something bigger than me. Now, this slide is what the viewer would see when entering the gallery. So this was the big main wall um, that you can see from the glass doors that are right in front of gallery attendees right as they walk off the elevator. So that was one of the one wall we needed to make sure we got right. And I think we did. In the slideshow, you see um, some help that we had hanging this wall, but those helpers weren't available on the next day, on the Sunday when we were installing it. So my husband and I actually installed most of the show, just the two of us, which was challenging, but it was really amazing that we were able to do it. We have a strong work ethic, and apparently we work really well together. So I really was really happy with the way we were able to get it up and running in one day.
I think that a certain type of man marries a textile artist.
Yes, 100%.
We're grateful for them. So these images that are on the right, are those your collages? Are they paper?
Yes. Yes, I included the collages of the 8 large pieces that I have in the show. And if you see some of them you'd see smaller versions of them. Those are something new that I'm doing where I'm taking a small section of the collage or of the quilt and creating a small version of it to sort of point out the figure ground tension in these specific areas. So it's a way for me to create works that are smaller that if somebody can't put an 80 by 80 piece on their wall at home, they might be able to buy a smaller piece of it.
Yeah. And are these collages for sale also?
They weren't right now. I plan to do that eventually, but after discovering the way of working where I can create smaller pieces from the larger one, I need more time with them to
Yeah.
do that from from the larger pieces that I hadn't done it yet with.
And I'll say here, if people are interested in purchasing Jennifer's work, just contact the gallery. And the same thing goes, for those collage pieces that she may not have them ready yet, but when they're ready,
Mhm.
that you can purchase them through the gallery. Um, what is, I mean, I can see there are similarities. You're working with some of the same shapes. Your colors do change quite a bit. Can you share a little bit about the large piece that's sort of by itself on the wall on the right here in this image?
Well, so my series is called Hiraeth, as you've seen on the beginning screen. And so each of these is an iteration of that theme. And that word is a Welsh word without a direct English translation. that is a sort of a homesickness or a longing for home. And I feel like my work for me is a exploration of identity. So the figures, many of the figures and my shape language remain fairly consistent, but I like to explore color and not always ask what if. And so when I work with, in creating collages, when I work with the paper, I see the papers on the table, and I can see the color relations, and I try to explore different combinations. So I really do love working in all colors. Um, I
So when
do.
when you
Yes,
go from
Maria.
the yeah, when you go from the collage to your textile composition, how do you approach color? Are you trying to match it, or is there leeway? How do you get there?
Well, I dye my own fabric, and so I try to match it as closely as possible, or I'd like to say sometimes make it better, because dyeing the exact color isn't always easy. But sometimes I get to a place where it may not be the exact color of the collage, but it's working with all of the other fabrics, so I just go with it.
Yeah, I thought we'd take a look at some of your pieces that have been in what I want to say, which I think everyone would agree with, prestigious textile art exhibitions. And this is the one we're going to start with. Can you tell me a bit about this piece?
Well, this is the piece that I entered my first national or international show. I entered this into Quilt National in 2020 for 2023, and it was juried in. And it's the first time I showed anywhere that was not a local exhibition. So I was really, really excited about that, to get a piece into Quilt National. And so I love the color in this piece, and this is actually one from a collage that I cannot find.
Ah, I know. And the thing is, we have a lot of stuff that we work with.
Yeah,
Oh, sometimes things you'll find it. Someday you'll
yeah.
find it. Yeah. Um,
So this piece was juried into the Schweinfurth's Quilts Equals Arts Equals Quilts in 2023. So this was my first piece that I got into that show. And the way this one and the one before it were quilted is different than how I quilt now. So I would quilt it using the same color as the fabric, and I did a different sort of doodle-like pattern on these. So these are quilted differently than my most recent ones.
yeah, I find that interesting because there are changes that happen in our work that maybe we're the only ones that notice, but they sort of
Hmm.
they demark like there's a registration of a shift in what we're doing. Well,
Absolutely.
when we look at these, Jennifer, like I said before, you have these shapes that you're using, and do they mean something in particular, or is it the arrangement of the shapes, or how'd you get to these shapes?
I think they're definitely, I mean, they're figurative, and many of them throughout the process of collage are sort of ghosts or echoes of one another, which sort of uh, lends to the idea that there's this sort of longing and sort of separation. And many of them lean together or seem to fall away, as if just sort of this ethereal sense of longing for home.
And is that something personal? Is there a home that you long for?
It's very personal to me. I've lived all over the country and came to Ohio, and for the first time felt like home. So it's really an important part of me and search for identity. And I think that's true of art in general. In order to find our authentic voice, we really have to go deep into what is important to us to try to find the language and the shape and the color that expresses who we are as a person, an artist.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And this is a beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Oh, did you want to say something else about that piece,
Oh,
Jennifer?
no, but just that was also at the Schweinfurth. That was in 2025.
Lovely. And then this one.
I talked before about working towards the Color Improvisations exhibit that opened in Germany and is now traveling throughout the world. It opened at the Technik at Textile Museum in Neumünster, Germany in January of 2024. And then in 2025, it opened and appeared at the International Quilt Museum in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's currently in Fargo, North Dakota, and on its way to Lancaster, Ohio, to the Decorative Arts Center. And the exhibition, again, is called Color Improvisations 3, curated by Nancy Crow. So this piece is not at the gallery because it's on the road.
Yeah. And that is for our listeners who maybe haven't heard about Nancy Crow and the exhibitions that she's curated. It's a rigorous experience to be part of one of those exhibitions. And I'm gonna move to another slide, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about that process. You mentioned to me before we started taping that they that you worked with Nancy with the collages and like how did that all go about?
Well, many people who study with Nancy Crow work from the wall. So they put pieces of fabric and shapes on the wall, make their design exactly the way they want it, and then they sew it up. I figured out for me the best way to do that was through creating collages because the papers were less precious than the fabric for me. And so I was able to work on a smaller scale. So as we were being curated, we were submitting and displaying quilts for selection into the show, and everyone's interaction, I believe, with Nancy was probably different depending on where they were in their uh, artistic career. I was still fairly new, so I was generating collages. And so Nancy was able to look at some of my collages and say, I think maybe these are the best of the ones that I've seen. So this was one of the finalists. Uh, I made all of them into quilts, not all the collages, but all the ones she selected into quilts.
So when you work in collage, do you then make templates from the collage or do you work improvisationally cutting the shapes that mimic the shapes that are in your collages?
I work mostly improvisationally. However, I do like to keep the drawn line, the integrity of the line that is drawn in the collage with my hand that cuts the paper. So for the very, very large shapes, I will use like a roll of paper and I will draw it out until I get it the way I want it. And then I will use it as a template because those large pieces of fabric, if I cut it wrong, I don't really have a lot more because some of those are
Life size.
70 pieces. Yeah, they're bigger than me. They're 70 inches long. And so I have
Yeah.
to, so it's really, but really just the large ones. And sometimes I draw it until I feel like my hand has gotten the hang of it enough to just go ahead and cut. So I
Wow.
really do try to keep it, I like to keep that painterly aspect to the lines and shapes.
Nice. Oh, these are beautiful. And I think
Thank you.
the color combinations are so unusual and beautiful. The really lovely Jennifer. So now we have a couple slides here talking about your process. And this particular photo is very intriguing to me. Although now that we've had this conversation, I can kind of guess what's going on. But will you share this part of your process with our listeners?
Sure. And thank you for your appreciation of my work. These were the three finalists for color improvisations of collages. So I had a probably the neatest stack here of all of the fabrics that were going to go into each of the quilts. So I could go about making them one by one. So the one at the top is the one that ended up in color improvisations, and the middle one is the one you just saw. And that one and the one on the bottom are both at the gallery as quilts. So throughout my experience with dyeing, I either have a fabric that's going to match the paper that's in the collage, or I have to dye it. And I've taken many classes on dyeing with Carol Soderlund, and I have practiced and practiced and learned how to get these colors. And just another note on the color is that if you're starting with, I found that starting with commercial fabrics, that a lot of the values, a lot of the dark colors, variety, and lighter colors, it just doesn't exist in commercial fabric. So being able to dye my own to match the collage paper that I've painted really helps me explore color in a way that you can't with what the industry provides.
Right. So this big quilt, this is a little bit of your process once you finish piecing, and then you
Yep.
move into the quilting and the
Yes. So in this picture, you could see my crowded basement with this being basted. I pin based my quilts before bringing them to my sit down long arm. So it's, I guess, a mid arm Q20 to do all of the quilting without the use of a frame. I do it like this.
wow.
A lot of fluffing, clamps, different ways to keep the piece suspended while moving it under the needle and creating all of the quilted lines. And in the lower left hand side, you could see this detail image where I talked about when I used to quilt a different way. So in that lower picture, you can see a close up of how some of those other quilts were quilted in that doodle pattern.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before, your quilts are bigger than you, so this is quite an undertaking to quilt
It
these
is, but you
pieces.
get used to it.
Yeah, it's wow. And Jennifer, this was just lovely to talk to you about your exhibition. Um, as we say goodbye, I'm curious what's next? Have you recovered from installing and having your show? And are you still a quilt maker?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm still a quilt maker. I don't think I'm going to get out of it that easy. We're going a week from this Saturday to New York to take the exhibit down and pack it up. And the quilt you see behind me in this photo was taken off the wall in my living room in order to come to the show. And so I'm going to be very happy to have it hung back on my wall because I miss it.
Yeah.
And what's even better is that now that my husband knows how to hang these quilts, we're going to hang it right. Because It needed to be up a little on the left since 2023.
I know. God, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer. And I just want to conclude by saying we're going to be doing this with all of our exhibitions. So please check back and for some more interviews.